Okay, part two. I think we're on chapter 23 now. Someone's binge watching this. Thank you. I haven't named this chapter yet, but I have a good idea of what it might be. So we're just talking about how one little meme on Facebook, and there are thousands of them, from the left especially, you can sit there and look at it and not be moved, I should say. Or you can sit there and accept it for what it's saying, or believe maybe that it's coming from a good place. You can do all sorts of things if you want to. But my mind doesn't allow me to just let things slide. If I see something from the left, I immediately know I'm going to disagree with it. And they like to couch things in nice sounding phrases and universally accepted talk. But I know deep down, just a little bit of time, a little bit of digging, and I can uncover the dead body inside the whole thing and find out why there's such a bad smell. It's called critical thinking, folks, and they stopped teaching that in school long ago. Thank God I got out of school before they started the real work on kids years ago. But critical thinking is what is my middle name, simply because I've always had a very analytical mind. And I can't watch a movie without, if someone's going to say something political, even subtly political, I catch it. I catch it every time. And I sit there and think for the next 2 minutes why I disagree with that statement, because it's almost always a left wing subliminal message. And I go, well, I disagree with this. Meanwhile, I'm missing dialogue. Nothing gets past me, folks. Unless I simply don't know what I don't know. But if I know it, it won't get past me. And critical thinking is what keeps my mind happy. Because if something goes unanalyzed, if something goes, the imbalance throws off my brain and I'm not happy. I need the why, and I need to understand what makes people think and say and do the things they do. I am so, as a result, nothing frustrates me more than political correctness. So I fight against it all the time. Political correctness, as I've said many times, is the most dangerous tool in the quiver of a liberal. It is the most destructive, dangerous thing in our culture. Bar none, not even a close second, because it's everywhere, and it does and affects everything. But being able to look at a meme like that and dissect it is not a gift, it's practice. It's paying attention, if you care enough. And I care simply because I don't like things going unsaid that need to be said, and I don't like things being accepted prima facie. I don't like things being just assumed to be correct when they're not correct most of the time. And I question people who do. Sheeple. A lot of sheeple out there who just say, I'm just going to go in line with everybody else. I'm going to take what they give me. I'm not going to argue anything. I'm not smart enough to know. Whatever the reason, the justification, it's easier. Well, liberalism is easier because you just say yes to everything. My brain doesn't allow me to do that. So I have to analyze, I have to dissect, I have to understand. And of course, what that leads you to, one of the understandings that leads you to is that political correctness is crap. It's euphemism. It's hiding truth. And why would you have to hide truth? Because you're afraid of truth. Why would you be afraid of truth? Because it undermines your belief system, your worldview, and the crap you're trying to shove down the throats of other Americans. And I won't have it. And I never have had it. I never will take it. I never will agree to it. Homie ain't playing. So, where did all this come from? Well, there was a time in this country, ladies and gentlemen, where Americans didn't take it like they do today. There was a time, 70, 80, more years ago, when Americans called a spade a spade. They saw something, they said something. They weren't afraid to speak their mind. Sometimes, often, in inappropriate locations, because they felt that the thing they were speaking their mind against was inappropriate as well. People called vulgar what was vulgar. They called inappropriate what was inappropriate. They called wrong what was wrong. And they had no qualms about it. They had no hesitation about it. And they had no fear of it. What's happened to us, folks? What the hell has happened to us? We walk on eggshells today. Political correct eggshells. We are cowed by our culture. The culture that was basically created by the left. They own it lock, stock, and barrel, and everything about it, and most of it's bad. Culture, not American culture, I'm talking about the pop culture. No bueno. And what it's done is stripped out all of our innate American ways. And among those American ways was a strong need to call things the way we see them. To call balls and strikes in life. Get the reference to baseball here. Go Giants. We don't call balls and strikes anymore. Why not? What are we afraid of? In fact, there's the new thought from the thought police, which is why we shouldn't agree with this thinking, from the group thinkers, is don't judge. Now, I will concede that biblically speaking, well, at least New Testament, it says, do not judge lest ye be judged. But being the critical, analytical thinker I am, I look at the Bible, both New and Old Testament, and I see an entire book filled with judgment. Do this, don't do this. This is right, this is wrong. These were the bad guys, these were the good guys. I know history is written by the winners, but the point of it is you got a whole book full of judgment that has one line that says, don't judge lest ye be judged. Meaning, that might have come at some point, and at another point they said, note the mote in your own eye before you talk about the one in your brother's eye. I mean, it's said over and over again. It says the same thing. It means the same thing. Those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, right. Anybody who speaks out about something or against something or someone has the chance it's going to come back on them. Nonetheless, we have done it and we stopped doing it. Did we stop doing it because it was wrong? No. It wasn't wrong. Why was it not wrong? That's why people get this all mixed up. Why was judging people and others and things and ideas not wrong? Aside from being very American to say, I disagree. Out loud. Why was it not wrong? It's not wrong because it was those kinds of judgments made by people in all civilizations, not just the American experience, but going back into even Europe and Asia, everywhere on the planet, I would imagine, where such speech and beliefs that were outspoken were allowed to occur. That was what kept a society and a culture intact. That's what kept the good stuff good and the bad stuff away. Is opinion. Outspoken opinion. You can't go century after century. Now look, I'm not a fool. I'm not saying that when we used to judge, everything was hunky-dory. A lot of stuff was repressed instead of being out in the open. There was just as much nonsense and bad behavior and sexual predation and deviancy and just as much lying and corruption and as there is today, perhaps just as much. But a lot of it was kept under wraps. It was not appropriate for it just to be walking around on its own unfettered. Now, some would say, isn't it better that you deal with the devil that you know than the one you don't know? Isn't it better to see it and know it's there than to know it's there but not see it? Isn't it better to have it not repressed so we can deal with it honestly? And there's a lot to be said for that. The problem is, again, with the liberals, they throw the baby out with the bathwater. There was a lot of beneficial stuff that occurred when people judged, back when people were allowed to judge, and society didn't frown on it, but actually promoted it. We were happier. We were happier. We lived in a time when we could be more proud of our culture, our country. We knew bad stuff existed, yes, but we didn't promote it. We didn't highlight it. We didn't revel in it. And a lot of times we didn't accept it. We did stamp it out. We did stop it, curtail it, shorten its life, squeeze it to do our bidding. Some things you couldn't get rid of altogether. Some things weren't so bad that you had to, but it was put in its place. Times were simpler. Things of importance, simpler things were made important. People could rely on another person understanding right from wrong way more often. You didn't have to doubt somebody as often to suddenly become someone you couldn't trust, someone who at least you wouldn't understand right from wrong. But it's a circus today. It's an absolute circus. All things considered. Nothing is wrong. Nothing, therefore, is right. Nothing is forbidden. Therefore, everything is okay. Allowed. It's a circus. You can't rely on anything, anyone, at any time. You can walk down the street, you can't look at anyone in the eye and say, this guy knows right from wrong. Because his right and his wrong are on not just a different page, they're preaching from a different psalm book. You can't rely on anything. That creates misunderstanding, distrust, disharmony, division, and fear, and hate. You want to know why we hate so much? Want to know why we're divided so much? You want to know why our culture seems to be becoming unglued at the seams? Because we're not allowed to judge. We're not allowed to say that the guy with the gun is the fault, not the gun. Lest we be suddenly pro-gun and therefore pro-killing with guns. Everything has been twisted. Everything taken out of context. Everything diluted, distorted, spun out of off its axis. We are walking around with delusional, misguided miscreants, also known as liberals and progressives. And they're allowed to tell us right from wrong. They're allowed to move the morality gauge up and down the scale as they see fit, fitting the purpose of their agenda or their narrative. We sit by and let them move the goalposts in the middle of the game, change the rules as they see fit, and we just let it happen. And we never judge them for what they do. Well, I'm sorry. I'm done. Not that I ever was into it, but I hate it. I'm so sick and tired of it. If something is wrong, damn it, it's wrong. And it's wrong for pretty much everybody. The gray area is made up. It's made up by liberals who do not want to live in a world of black and white, so they create their own world. It's a pretend world. Okay? It's the land of Oz, okay? It's completely in Dorothy's brain. And the little flying squirrels known as progressives flying all over the place, you know, in this land of make-believe, dropping PC poop all over the place. I've had it. Tired of stepping in it. I'm not playing the game. And neither should you. There's never a reason to buy into this crap. If something's wrong, say so. If something is right, say so. If you disagree with it, say so. If someone should be shamed, shame on them. Shame them. If something is vulgar, say it's vulgar. If somebody curses in a restaurant, you got children around, say, hey, dude, kids, watch the language. You know, well, you're going to get a punch in the face? Ah, ha, ha, ha. Yes. And we always got a punch in the face. Always. We always risked a punch in the face. That didn't stop people back in the day. Why does it stop us now? If something was meant to be said, it had to be said, we used to say it. We didn't worry about the consequences because the consequences, we were still in the right and was still on our side. And no amount of yelling and screaming or physical activity, punching you, whatever, getting hit, was going to change right from wrong. It wasn't going to change it. I'm going to clean this thing up in the final segment here. Talk about violent reactions to judgment. See you on the next one.